Eyes Wide Shut opened in theaters today in accordance with the wishes of director Stanley Kubrick. Audiences will not be allowed to see it. Wasn't good anyway. Jungle Boy, who possesses the amazing ability to communicate telepathically with alligators, but strangely enough, not crocodiles. Sorry, I do that with my 5-year-old son. I promised I'd say it on the show. You've dug Daddy a hole, Marlon. All right, let's see. What's new in the world this week? President Clinton and congressional leaders spent the week in negotiations over what to do with the projected $1 trillion budget surplus. The Republicans want to give it back in the form of tax cuts, and Clinton wants to use the surplus to buy the entire state of Montana as a gift for Heather Graham. Hillary Clinton visited the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York over the weekend and said she was not impressed with the memorabilia because she has 2 of the world's most famous balls in a glass case at home. And, hey. At a Democratic fundraiser on Tuesday, President Clinton said he doesn't understand what Republican presidential frontrunner George W. Bush means when he says he's for, quote, compassionate conservatism. Well, Bill, it's kind of like getting blowjobs from an intern because fucking her would be wrong. Did anybody catch the U.S. women's soccer final on Saturday? Yeah. Awesome game, 90,000 fans, flags everywhere. I don't mind saying it. I have never been more proud to be an American woman. After defeating the Chinese women's team, the American team issued an apology saying they had actually meant to defeat a Serbian munitions plant. And the final game drew the largest TV audience ever for a soccer game. In a related story, NBC announced the entire U.S. women's soccer team will be Brooke Shields' new boss on Suddenly Susan. This week's Britain's Secretary for Northern Ireland, Mo Mowlam, attempted to salvage faltering peace talks, but remaining skeptical are her Irish counterparts, Sean O'Shaughnessy and Mac. On Tuesday, Jordan's King Abdullah and Israeli Prime Minister, how's the man's name? Ehud? Jewish name Barak. Ehud began a new round of peace talks at the Jordanian resort of Aqaba. Barak said he did not come to Aqaba for money or to drive away the Turks. He came because it is his pleasure. Just checking to see if anybody has a film degree out there. Fittingly enough, a lean reaction. You know, on Thursday, an attorney for suspected railroad killer Rafael Resendez Ramirez said Ramirez was unaware that he faced the possibility of being executed when he turned himself in to police. cool. And the company that owns Barney the dinosaur lost its lawsuit against the San Diego Chicken, who beat up a Barney lookalike during a recent baseball game. Folks, I think we've reached a proud milestone in the history of American jurisprudence when one costume can sue another costume. Well, tough luck for Barney, but I guess in our current climes, any publicity is thought to be good publicity. Now, I don't want to get off on a rant here, but when it comes to blatant self-promotion these days, there's more desperate chest pounding going on than a 24-hour ER marathon. Today, everyone is a celebrity. Cajun chefs, CEOs, transvestite hookers. Hey, we live in a world where even Mother Teresa had people. Now, I know in every business you have to sell yourself. I don't have a problem with that, but you have to know when it's time to stop. There are people out there who are more overexposed than Edgar Winter slathered in baby oil lying on a bed of aluminum foil under a magnifying glass at high noon in Palm Springs. Nowadays, even the average American has mastered the art of spin. I got a press release from my mailman today that included his headshot, outlined his views on stamp placement, and announced that his next project is delivering tomorrow's mail. What I find amazing about some forms of self-promotion is the self-delusion that goes along with it. Monica Lewinsky once said that she didn't want to make a career out of being Monica Lewinsky. I forgot, did she say that in the Barbara Walters interview or on the Today Show? And Donald Trump is the Donald Trump of self-promotion. What's with affixing his surname to anything he touches in life? The only thing the word Trump should be synonymous with is a really bad comb-over and eyebrows that are denser than the women he dates. And then there's, well... plot or don't make me grovel. And then there's Dennis Rodman. Now, I have to say I used to be a fan of his because when he hit the floor, he was the complete warrior, and he left all of his freak show bullshit in the pants pocket of his warm-up suit. But in the last year or so, that's all changed. Dennis, if you happen to be watching tonight on a TV set in the waiting room of whatever tattoo parlor you're in, I think one of your skull piercings might accidentally nick the part of the brain that keeps you from buying into your own hype. So let's pull out all those hoops and loops and rings and car keys, bass lures, cotter pins, and paper clips. Let the holes heal back up so you can start doing some rebounding again next season. Because right now, you're on the verge of becoming the world's most passé wind chime, okay? And by the way, if there's anybody out there tonight who has not yet bought a Tybo tape, please, I'm begging you, bite the bullet and send in your goddamn money. Because until you do, Billy Blanks is not going to leave any of us alone for a single fucking minute. And, hey, and look at Madonna. No, I mean, really, look at her, or she'll die. Do you realize we actually have celebrities in this culture who are celebrities merely because they're celebrities? Melissa Rivers, Downtown Julie Brown, Mr. Blackwell. What exactly do these people do? Other than bemoan the travails of living in the fishbowl. You know something? You got to hand it to Mary Jo Buttafuoco. At least she took a bullet in the face, okay? A word of warning, however, my non-talented friends. If you want to last beyond flavor of the month, you better make sure you can live up to your self-generated buzz, because it can get mighty lonely sitting there 35 rows back next to Brigitte Nielsen at the Calvin Klein Spring Show as she tries to pitch you Red Sonja 2, okay? And don't ever take yourself so seriously that you refer to yourself in the third person. You know, the day I say Dennis Miller has to look out for Dennis Miller, I want you all to crown Dennis Miller the king of assholia, okay? Truth be told, there are so many me monkeys out there, they've actually cheapened our appreciation of true accomplishment. Cynics are even grumbling that World Cup soccer player Brandi Chastain was guilty of blatant self-promotion when she dramatically ripped off her jersey after scoring the winning kick last Saturday. Well, I disagree. I say that what she did was well within the acceptable parameters of genuine emotional release. Let me tell you something, folks. If that'd been me out there, I would have de-pantsed myself and shouted, "Take that, you while bending over to flash my naked, hairy, pivotal goal of the game-scoring ass at their bench. And then everyone in that stadium would have got a long, lingering faceful of my sweaty, championship-winning balls as I took a prancing victory lap around the field springing, "Bring on the cash, motherfuckers, bring it on." Of course, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. And I guarantee if I had pranced around that field with my balls hanging out, after a minute or two, they would have figured out I wasn't a woman player and taken away the field. I'm tiny, but I'm earnest. Fucking huge. I want to know what you think of America. Give me a call, 1-800-522-8673. My guests tonight don't need to shamelessly promote themselves because they're the undisputed masters of comedy and filmmaking. Their film South Park is a towering achievement, the finest movie of our time. I think they also wrote this intro. Please welcome Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Gentlemen.
It's so cool, like, everyone likes us again. Like, you know, we did basketball and everyone's just like, oh. No.
Now, first off, welcome back. Good to see you guys again. You have been reborn, like the phoenix, rising from the desert. I went to see South Park the other night, and I was telling you in the back room, I don't know who's seen it, but that's the most subversive, crazy, fucked up, weird film I've and you know, I must admit, in the theater I saw, people were just crying because, you know, even the hardcores who didn't want to like it, and there was an older couple in front of me that I think they thought they had stumbled into, you know, like a Pat Boone County Fair movie or something, and like they, you know, you could see they were, I was catching his light like glowing in the screen, and he kind of looked like he had made a horrible mistake, and then it started beating him down. You know, it was just like it was like Paris Island or something. And at the end, he's fun, you know, going crazy. It was now Over Satan's Bed. Is that Skeet Ulrich?
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing in the movie. Then I'm looking, I'm going, who is that? Is that the kid Skeet Ulrich I always see in Details magazine?
There's a lot of people pissed off at us from this movie.
Why Skeet Ulrich?
Winona Ryder is really pissed off.
Winona Ryder's pissed off.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, did one of you boys ask her out and she said no, or what was that about?
No, it wasn't.
I don't know. We just were sitting around. I was like, what about a vaginal ping pong ball thing? And Trey's like, Winona Ryder. We're like,
yeah.
That fits. That's good. It's kind of like it's just kind of like whatever you blurt out first is kind of what always sticks.
Yeah.
And you know what I find the funniest is how well, I'm sure you pay more attention than it appears, but how little attention you pay to the animation just cracks me up. Like Terrence and Phillip, they're just like little, what are they?
Yeah, well, it's just like, I mean, Terrence and Phillip was actually, we sort of invented that because when South Park first came out and all the reviews were coming out saying, you know, this is the worst animation and nothing but fart jokes. And we were like, no. And then we created Terrence and Phillip. We're like, this is the worst animation and all fart jokes. So.
Now Saddam Hussein's cock, that was so.
He has a huge cock.
It was so stunning to me because it was such a big, crimson, angry cock.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like it had been clipped out of.
It looked like you could just get smacked with it.
Well,
it wasn't drawn, was it?
No, we cut it out of an X-rated magazine, triple X-rated magazine.
I wanted to use mine, but no one would let me. They thought that was weird.
We tried so many cocks too.
They're operating in Panavision now. No, so you really, that's what I said to my wife. I said, imagine them sitting there with that jeweler's loop on, like going over cock
we'd watch
pictures.
it, you know, people with Paramount, we'd sit there and go, is the cock big enough? Let's try another cock. We'd go back the next week.
That was the scene we put in the movie for the MPAA to cut out.
Yeah, because everyone said put in one scene for them to cut out.
You know, then they'll kind of like not notice all the cocksuckers and fuckers and all that other shit. You put this one scene, and then that's the one they feel like they've cut out something. And they came back and they were like, it's okay, just make sure it's a dildo and it's not real.
They were like, take out that rim job line.
Yeah.
But Saddam Hussein whipping his dick around was okay. That's why. It's just like,
We're so excited. We got to have a cock in the movie.
Now, do you think anybody goes into Saddam Hussein's office and say, "Hey, you're in a flick"?
somewhere he gets to
someday
see
he's
this
gonna
movie,
see it.
and it's
Yeah.
like.
He's going to be so baffled by why the Americans are doing this to him.
Now, the film is, you know, it is subversive and it's insane, but it was very clever in a way because it points out the ludicrousness of how you can slaughter as many people. And I know this off the subject, we'll get to that, but you really can't slaughter, but you can't show things like people.
No, and that's
and
why we made it all about war, and we wanted everything to get to war at the end so that we could just do the most violent, horrific, Saving Private Ryan war shots, knowing that the MPA was not going to say a thing about those, and they didn't.
They never said a thing, right?
There's like people, blood, and death everywhere.
Take out rim job.
Yeah, take out rim job.
And yet they're catching a lot of heat this weekend. I suppose you've read because of the
Kubrick.
Evidently, they had to do some computer-generated.
But that's what's so scary about it is that we're in the one country in the world that had to change Kubrick's film.
They're saving us from Kubrick.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean?
And apparently it's comical. Like it is people, a plant put right where a guy's penis is and stuff like that. And it's just like, it's really depressing.
No, that's our goal is to bring down the MPAA somehow, some way. It may take us a few years, but.
All right. Now, what about self-promotion? Now, you guys seem to have such exquisitely fine-tuned bullshit barometers that I can't imagine when you had to immerse yourself in the self-flagellation of promoting yourself that did you hate yourself on some level when you first had to do it, or were you comfy about doing it?
I think it was just so funny to us, and seeing the world. We didn't grow up in this town or anything, and so doing like the Tonight Show for the first time and having them come in and go, here's the questions, here's your answers. Here's what Jay's going to ask you, and here's what you're going to tell him.
Yeah.
And then going through the whole thing and seeing all these things for the first time was really just like, oh, they do it this way, and it.
Yeah, my conception was a reporter. I always thought a reporter was the guy who worked down at his trunk and had the hat on, and ran down Tom Cruise and found him and got him to answer some questions.
Yeah.
And then to go into these press junkets where it's like, you have a reporter every 6 minutes.
You sit in a room. Yeah, you sit in a room.
I know, I've done a couple of those. It's brutal.
And it's just a different reporter every 5 minutes, and they come in and ask you the same question.
And you act like, it's the first time you've ever heard it, and it's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a mind fucker because it's so disillusioning at first, and then you're sitting there going, fuck, I'm part of this,
Yeah.
Yeah, but isn't there a purity to it at some point? I find the purity of the marketplace absolves you a lot of sins. I mean, you're out to make money at some point. I mean, it's nice that you have an idea. It's a brilliantly funny idea. You want people to see it, and that translates to $7 a head.
Yeah.
And when I get in those things, I always hear about these people bitch and moan and whine about how they're whoring themselves. Who the fuck asked you to come into the marketplace if you weren't going to be a whore?
Right, yeah. That's why we do it, is to support the show.
This person has 6 minutes. They want you to sell the soap. Right. I used to love the purity of it. After a while, I'd wear it down, and I'd go, yeah, shut up, sell it. You're in it,
it still gets you, but you have to get to that point. You have to go through you have to realize that. And I don't think until you go through it enough. Like, we're just starting to realize that now. But for the first couple of years, we were like, we're just little anarchists at heart. I mean, we just were so.
Yeah, but after basketball, quite frankly, you were an iconoclast who might have felt, listen, I don't care who you are, how anarchistic you are in this business. When you're out of the loop, it feels weird.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're full of shit. Not you, but people who tell me, I don't mind. I always think you're full of shit. It always feels more comfy to be in the loop. Isn't it better after this one? What's this at, 40 mil? Or?
Yeah, but what's so amazing was that everyone was already writing about the death of South Park before the movie came out, and we could see everyone being so poised to take us down and waiting for this movie to kill it all. And we were reading articles, about it that was just like, yeah, it used to be cool, and now they're not, and we were just kind of like, well, what happened? And then the movie came out, and all of a sudden we're back in again, and it does feel better. But
and most of the reviews, we got the reviews, from the day the movie came out, we got all the reviews from all around the country. And read them, we got like 95% good reviews. It was great. It was like really, kind of validated our whole thing. But you could see so many of the reviewers grudgingly gave it a good review.
Yeah.
They were like, well, I kind of liked it, I guess.
No, they were like this. They're like, this is the funniest movie I've ever seen. I laughed so hard. 1 star. And it's just
Well, see, the brilliant chess move is steering into the skid. I mean, instead of making it more accessible and trying to pander and suck up to people with a piece of watered-down shit, you made it like so repugnant and like funny and completely. I dare you not to laugh at this, you fucking twit.
Well, we fought with Paramount so hard because they wanted us to make a PG-13 movie and they showed us literally charts and graphs about how much more money a PG-13 movie would make, and we were just like, we're not interested. We need to take it to the next level, or else then we really are sellouts.
Right, you would have got killed.
And
it was a savvy move. I don't know if you knew it was that savvy, but you would have got strung up if you tried to make it.
No, we knew we would have.
Now, we've got a phone call for you, line 7, Gary from Huntsville, Alabama. Gary.
Hey, Dennis.
Hey, did you see South Park?
I'm going to go see it tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
You're going to go see American Pie.
Hey, Dennis, I haven't talked to you since Tom Hanks, man. Remember that? See, I'm self-promoting myself.
All right, Gary.
Check it out.
Sit back.
Commercial's over. Line 6, we've got Howie from Brooklyn, New York.
How
I gotta
are you,
learn a new
Dennis?
trick. All I do is cut people off anymore, huh?
Well, don't cut me off yet. How are you,
Howie, we
Dennis?
love you. What do you got?
I want to know, how long must we hear about Hillary Clinton promoting herself all across this state until she finally makes the commitment to run for the Senate race?
Yeah, well, you know, you watch her at this press conference, she has that panicked, like, deer in the headlight look, hoping they don't ask her something rough like, what's the capital of our state? You know? She always looks completely
What does the Federal
panicked.
Reserve Board do?
Well, I don't know. Listen, if New Yorkers are, I've never really thought of New Yorkers as gullible, but if they put her in just to be star fuckers, that's their, that's their mistake at some point, you know? Now, do you think anybody, is your theory that anybody can be famous if the PR is right? Do you really believe that?
Yeah.
Or?
We were talking about this, and the best example we could think of was Ricky Martin. Because and that's because
You don't see any. I think the kid's talented. He's cool looking kid.
The thing is, the first time we saw him, I'm like a huge Les Miserables fan, right? So like 3 years ago, I dragged Matt. Matt hates Broadway. Hates the whole thing.
That's what the heavy Les Miserables.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. So I'm dragging Matt into it.
Let me ask you quick. Are you a fan of Les Mis for Les Mis, or are you a fan of Les Mis for the kitsch of Les Mis? I mean, do you really? Are you emotional when they're?
He really is a fan.
I cry.
Really, he cries.
See, well, I tell you, you peel back the avocado on these poison fuckers, and they are soft underneath. They're up on the parapets, the little girl screaming, I want a fish head and some bread, and you're crying, right?
I totally cry every time. I can't. But I dragged him there, and apparently Ricky Martin was playing Marius, and we didn't know who he was at the time.
I'd never been to a musical anything.
Yeah.
I don't know shit about that stuff.
And so we're watching it, and I could see that Matt's getting into it, and so I'm feeling good. I'm like, see,
crying.
he does like, he didn't cry, but all we knew was that the guy who played Marius.
the girl?
Yeah, Marius was on General Hospital. That's all we knew. And so, and so Matt leans over to me halfway through the second, and he goes, "That dude fucking sucks."
I didn't know anything. I never done anything, but I was like, that guy, Ricky Martin,
and
so bad.
And he in the cast of real singers and real performers, he stood out so bad. Seriously.
But
it ruined Les Mis for him, and I hate him.
The Revolution Loca.
Yeah.
All right. He always does that stiff leg thing.
Yeah,
That's my favorite one. All right, guys. Is there going to be a South Park 3?
Yeah.
I don't even know where you go with it.
I don't know
it
either.
is.
I mean, we still love doing the TV show, so we'll just keep doing that.
Well, trust me, when you go to do South Park 3, I want you to tie a piece of string to the door, because that is a dark little cellar you're going into. I want you to be able to Fellini your way out of there. All right. Thanks for coming on. Give me a hand. Nice talk. Skeet Ulrich. Now that is genius. Anytime you use a photo of Skeet Ulrich over Satan's bed as he's making love to Saddam Hussein. Ooh, that's the Irving Thalberg Lifetime Achievement Award there, right? President Clinton is, quote, quite possibly the only man in the world who can have a wet daydream. And while watching the president speak on the reservation, these 3 Lakota Nation chiefs have to admit that even for a white man representing the United States federal government, this guy's really full of bullshit. And this week at Clinton's church, the topic of the sermon was marital fidelity. During a brief trip to New York, President Clinton visited Governor George Pataki, who is slowly going insane. 2 negatives make a positive, Sugar Shakes, because I'm kind of married myself. And here Hillary Clinton is with a man named Baxter, whose only job is to walk next to her and keep repeating, "You are so New York, baby." I tell you, honey, it's really great not being the Prime Minister of Israel anymore. This milkshake's really good. Is yours good? Yeah, mine's good too. Really, really good. So, what do you do now? Go like grocery store or something? I'm really sorry. I have blind spots. Read it this afternoon. Writer hadn't gotten anything on in a few weeks. Thought I'll throw him a fucking bone. That's a bad, bad miss. That's... Guests of Dennis Miller Live stay at Kim Sue's Drain Pipe Luxury Suites. Harry wasn't a real priest or anything. He just liked putting on dark clothes, a fake beard, and making shit up about God. But Dr. Laura, it's so hard for me to trust. Yosef made a comfortable living by accepting small sums of money from people just to go away. Pennsylvania Governor Tommy Ridge taped a series of public service commercials this week telling kids, "Books is good for your cogitation bone." And at a meeting with German Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder, it takes every ounce of strength in Union leader Dieter Schultz's body to refrain from picking his nose. So as not to be confused, Boris Yeltsin has scribbled on the inside of his right hand a note that tells him the index cards are in his left hand. And Special Envoy to France, Bernard Kouchner, likes to let a loud one rip after lunch, and you what? And finally, before Dan Quayle goes out to make a speech, wife Marilyn dutifully stuffs the last remaining styrofoam packing chips back into his head. Guess what, folks? That's the news. I'm out of here. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.